Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for how to appeal property taxes for your business. I am Rebecca Chauncey, a business advisor here at the Illinois Small Business Development Center, or SBDC, at Bill Bronzeville. We're so pleased to have you join us today. And this training is brought to you at no cost because it's funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the United States Small Business Administration, or the USSBA, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the Urban Juncture Foundation. Just a couple of housekeeping notes today. If you have questions, please type them as they come to mind in the Q&A section, which if you move your mouse or hover your mouse over the bottom of your screen, you'll see Q&A. You should type again any questions you have there. We will address the questions at the end of the presentation when we have the Q&A session, if you will. And then you will also at that point be able to raise your hand if you're not in a space where you can type questions at that time. Also, just yes, a heads up, you will receive a recording of the training, and that usually comes at the within a day or two. So now that everyone's clear about that, I'm so pleased to introduce you to today's presenter, Connie Anderson. Connie is an entrepreneur and audiophile from Arkansas who started a business to serve Chicago public school students. Before becoming co-owner of the Record Track Record Shop here in Chicago, Connie analyzed the real estate market and property taxes to coincide with the current market using her experience and expertise in finance, real estate, and market analysis. She relieved home and business owners from overvaluation of assessments. She educated taxpayers in the tax appeal process by conducting tax talks throughout the Chicagoland area. Connie earned a finance degree from Northeastern Illinois University. Without further ado, I'm happy to pass the mic over to Connie.
Hello, and thanks for being here with us. Again, Connie Anderson. I am one of the co-founders of the Record Track, which is a small business on the southeast side of Chicago. Glad to say we're going to have a ribbon cutting October 12th. Try to get this business up and going. I do still have a full-time job. I am working as a paralegal, commercial and industrial paralegal, and real estate taxes and real estate. So I definitely want to go over a few things about how to appeal your real estate taxes as a business owner. And there is a lot. And today we're going to touch on a few things, but there are so many other branches of this when we're talking about businesses and how to alleviate the property tax liability on this property. So let's go to the next slide. All right, what you should know about your property taxes. Understand the property tax appeal. These are the things that we're going to really sort of kind of go through today. And we're going to hit a bit on how to generally file a property tax appeal. Gathering key documentation, determine grounds for that appeal, organize your appeal presentation, use visuals and data effectively, very important. Prepare for questions. We'll talk a bit about that, and submit your appeal. And then we're going to look up what could you do after, what's that follow-up? How does that follow-up look like? All right. So understand the appeal process. The filing deadlines. That is the first thing you need to know in order to proceed forward with an appeal. In order to do that, you will need to see what township you're located in. what, where are you located, and is who's open for filing an appeal, right? So what you can do, first place you want to go to is the Cook County Assessor's Office. Cook County Assessor's Office is the office that evaluates your property. Every 3 years, you get a reassessment notice. They are the people or the entity that change that assessed value, which ultimately change your tax liability. Now, I do have some links here. I'm hoping, could you see this? Could everyone see this, Rebecca?
Yes.
Great, 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 great. So this is the Cook County Assessor's Office. First thing you need to do, if you don't have your tax bill in hand or your reassessment notice in hand, those two documents are the documents you can get your property index number from. If you don't have that, you can come here to the Cook County Assessor's Office and you could hit here. If you see my cursor here, search by address, go in and put in your address, right? I'm going to put in our building, 2804. You can put the direction if you want. You don't have to. Just where the asterisks are is where you will want to complete. All right. I am not a robot, I don't believe. Let's see here. All right, let's take a look. All right, so our property comes up. So as you can see, we have a couple of photos here. We have the thank you signs because we're under renovation here. It's primary completely done, and then we're going to do a build out. But beforehand, this is how our property looked, right? And now that we were reassessed, Hyde Park Township was reassessed every reassessment year. The assessor's office supposed to go around, take current photos and review the property, see what type of condition that property is in, and then assess the property accordingly. In our case, we did get an automatic reduction for this year. That was based on the construction. They pulled the permits, et cetera. That's not always a great thing. As you can see, in 2013, we were at 70,000 in assessed value. 70,000 in market value, went down to 48,000 in market value. That's great for 2024, but it will increase significantly in 2025. And we'll talk a bit more about that once I get to that part. So let's go back here to the list. All right, so that's the assessor's office. I found out my property. I found my property index number, which is here, PIN number. And now I could put that information in and start my appeal process. Now, in some cases, Hyde Park is closed at the assessor's office. And I'm like, man, I missed my window to file an appeal. Well, you didn't. We have a second office, which is the Cook County Board of Review. Let's take a look here. Cook County Board of Review is the second office. It's like more of a check and balance system with the assessor's office and the Board of Review. Assessor's office give about approximately 20% of their total intake reductions, where the Board of Review gives about 70%. Right? Especially for small businesses, right? So we want to definitely take a look at the Board of Review, and from there, you could look at the dates when your township is opening, if it has opened, how many. I do apologize. I'm at my father-in-law's house. Give it a second. And are you able to file an appeal? So you have 2 chances, actually 3, and we'll focus on that a little bit later as well, to file an appeal. All right. So those are going to be your first steps, really figuring out, your PIN number, and what township you're located in. And what I didn't show you also, the township. So it's going to show you all your information here, your PIN, your address, your township. From there, you can actually go to appeals. and you can go to calendars, right? And here it's going to tell you every township. Right now, Lake is open till the 11th of October. Jefferson, and the first townships you will see are the townships that were reassessed in 2024. So these are the townships that were and will be reassessed in 2024. As you can see, West, Rogers Park, Lakeview, and Hyde Park has closed at the assessor's office. But again, you can still file an appeal at the second office, which is the Board of Review. We are scroll down, and these are the rest of the townships. Now, these townships are not reassessed. They've been reassessed either in 2022 or 2023. But they will also show you which townships are open or which ones will be open and which ones have already closed. So this is great information for you to understand, if you can file here or do you need to file at the second office. All right, let's go here. So I touched a bit on the reassessment notice. So here on your left, you will see every 3 years for most properties, you will get a reassessment notice. Most properties, as in 99% of the properties, you will get a reassessment notice. And that notice is the indicator that your property was reassessed in some form of fashion. Either it was reassessed because your 3 years have ended and it's going to start the next 3 years, and everyone get a reassessment notice around that time. Or you build a property on vacant land, you get a reassessment notice, right? Or you, like we've done, we did a gut rehab, right? So in 2025, we're going to get another reassessment notice because at that point, the assessor's office is saying the value of your property has changed from X to Y because of the improvements you've done on your property. Every year is the tax bill. I'm sure everyone understands that received the tax bill. Whew. So every year, this is the second installment tax bill. The first installment tax bill is a blue bill. And the thing about the first installment tax bill, understand this, it is an estimated tax bill. Every first installment tax bill that you receive in March, April is it's estimated. It is literally 55% of the total taxes you paid the prior year. No more calculations. That is the taxes you will pay, 55% of the prior year taxes. The second installment tax bill, that's when everything changes. The change in your taxes are not on a calendar year, but it's on a fiscal year. So the second installment tax bill, which we received in August, September, everything is new. If you received a reduction in 2024, that reduced assessed value will show on that tax bill, the new tax rate multiplier, exemptions, etc. All of those things will show on that tax bill. And a huge adjustment will take place. In some cases, I've had clients who received a $0 second installment tax bill because I got them a really, really large reduction during that tax season. And whatever they paid in that first installment actually covered the taxes for the full year. In many cases, pretty much all of them, the client received a refund back. So really understand how those tax bills work. All right, let's go to, all right. So the assessor's office breaks up Cook County in 3 groups. We have the city of Chicago, which is reassessed in 2024. We have the northwest suburbs, which you can see over here in gray, that was reassessed in 2022. And then we have the southwest suburbs that was reassessed in 2023. I think my heart goes out to, I really focus on the south and the southwest suburbs. If any of you have rental property businesses in those areas, definitely want to talk with you. The problem in those areas is that the tax levies are extremely high, which uh, in return cause the tax bills to be extremely high. And it's not, and when you compare that with the market value of these properties, it's no comparison at all. So if you have properties in this area, definitely want to touch on that a bit after the presentation. In the city of Chicago, I mean, small businesses are being hit even more so now than they were, in the last 6 years. Seem like, KEGI has taken the mitigating the stress on homeowners, but they're putting it on small business owners. But we know with inflation and everything else that it's just not leveling out. So we'll talk a bit more about that as well. So we already sort of kind of looked at this. So what's open now? We want to definitely look at what's open now. We want to find out if any of your properties are in these townships, because we want to see if there's an appeal that needs to be had. And right now, we know that the only property in the city, only township in the city open is Lake. And Jefferson will be opening shortly as well. And North and South Chicago will be opening in about, I give it in about 6 weeks. So here, we're going to flip over to the Board of Review. The Board of Review, right now we have the assessor and the Board of Review open simultaneously. It happens every year for a fraction of the year where we have both of these organizations open for appeals. Right now, we have West Chicago open. Now, you need to, those of you that have properties in the city of Chicago, I urge you to go through the process and see what township you're located in. Because if you're located in West Chicago, you want to file a complaint today. Today is the deadline. So you want to file a complaint at the assessor's office, at the Board of Review, to pretty much what you're trying to do is just save that slot for yourself, just in case you want to file an appeal. The complaint only just saves that slot. If you choose not to file an appeal, you don't have to submit any evidence. It'll go as insufficient data, right? But if you choose to, at least you have that slot where you can file the appeal. So if you look at Group 3, closing for filing complaint is today, the 24th. Now, the evidence submission deadline is October 4th. So you still have 10 days to get all your evidence together and submit it. So we'll talk a bit about that as well. All right. So this is the documentation you will need for the assessor's office for commercial and industrial properties. You can see on my left here, these are the documents that the assessor's office may or may not require. But when we're talking about residential properties, very little need to be submitted, right? Just comparables or an appraisal, or if it's vacant, you want to show photos. It's very cut and dry. But when we're talking about commercial properties, especially when it's an income producing property, there's a lot more involved, right? Because the assessor's office want to know, what type of income do you have? How does that income relates to the assessed value, et cetera. So with that, they also want additional information. So we have a property summary sheet. So this is required. This is required for every commercial property, whether it is owner occupied or income producing property. They are wanting, you will have to complete this and submit this document to the assessor's office. If it is owner occupied, great thing with owner occupied properties, you don't have to submit income. Do not submit income. I just do not tell them your income. Do not, that is, it's not relevant if it's owner occupied. Even if it's an NAL, a non-arm's length lease, in a lot of cases, you purchase the property, you throw it in an LLC, and you work out of that property. Technically, it is owner occupied. You do not have to submit income. So that is very important, because sometimes income can hurt you. It can hurt you. It can hurt you. So that must be submitted. Now, let's just say you want to go with a law firm. Great thing is, if you go with a law firm, you ain't got to worry about none of this on this side here. We will take care of that for you. But if you choose to go with a law firm, this is a form that they will have to complete. And also, you will have to complete this, but you will not put a law firm there. You will just be, nope, you wouldn't have to complete this at all. I'm sorry, I do apologize. You would not have to complete this at all. This is the form that the law firm will complete, showing their representation for their client. Owner occupancy affidavits. Now, this here will show if there is, for any reason, there is an issue with the property, you occupy the property, you will complete this, get it notarized and submit it. You are verifying that you are the owner occupant of that particular property. If that is to be the case, rent rolls, if you're the owner occupant of that property, you don't have to worry about rent rolls. If this is an income producing property, if it's an apartment, if it's a commercial, you will need to complete this. This has to be completed and submitted. And of course, for the commercial or industrial property as well. If you've recently purchased a property in the last 3 years, a sales questionnaire must be completed, along with, I do recommend, highly recommend, the closing settlement statement that you received at closing to also be submitted. We do have copies of the warranty deed or the special warranty deed that is for public use, that is posted on the Cook County Recorder of Deeds office, which is great. But that settlement closing statement is gold. You wanna go ahead and submit that, because that sort of that determines a lot of factors: what debits and credits were given, what type of sale this property was, etc. So you want to complete this along with that. Let's just say you demolished the property. If you demolished the property, you want to get this affidavit, this declaration, all right? But you also want to get a letter, a notarized letter from the demolition company that did the demolition, and they that letter, again, is gold. It is confirming that something had happened to this property. This property is no longer in use, along with, of course, photos, right? So you want to get this along with that and submit that. And you can also use a general affidavit, which is great as well. You can use a general affidavit just explaining what had happened to the property, what had happened to the land, what is going on with the building, etc. This is a good document. I use it all the time. Field check letters, yes. I mean, if the property is demolished and they're saying that there's a building on this property, or the property is under construction and they're still valuing this property at a market value as if it's income producing, or as if it is it could be fully occupied, you want to complete this document. and submit this document so the assessor's office can send someone out there to check on the place, to see that the property is not producing any income and is under construction. So these are the things that you can always get from the assessor's office. These are things that may or may not be required when you file the appeal. Now, here are the things that you yourself will have, and you will have to come up with and present on your own accord. The assessor's office will not have these documents. So you will get the assessment notice. So you want to check that assessment notice, make sure everything is accurate. Property description. Remember how I showed you how to look up your property? You want to go and you want to make sure that description is correct. So that is very important. And also on your reassessment notice, it has a description as well. It's pretty limited with commercial properties versus residential properties, but even then you could see if it's accurate. An appraisal. Now, if you have a commercial property and you are being reassessed, I urge you to get an appraisal, get an opinion at least. What is what is the market value of my property? What you want to do is compare that market value with what the assessor is stating your market value is. Because what the assessor is saying that market value is what they're going to tax you on. What that appraiser is saying that market value is what you can sell that property for in today's market. That is gold. You want to make sure that the market values, number one, that the assessor's market value is under the actual market value of the property. That would be nice. And number two, honestly, that those market values match, right? That okay, if it get appraised right now, the assessor's office have my property market value at $500,000. Yeah, the appraiser came out at 520. Okay, I won't I won't get that appraisal, right? So you want to get at least some opinions from appraisers just to see where you are in that market in real time. Photos. If the property is under construction, and you pull permits, here's the thing. If you pull permits, the assessor's office is going to know that you pull permits. That's a given. So if you pull permits, go ahead and take those photos and show the assessor's office the damages. Now, I say that to say, if the assessor's office know you pull permits, they know that there was an improvement on the property. Therefore, they will most likely increase the assessed value the following year because there's an improvement. No need to not file an appeal for that current year at that point. So you want to, if you're trying to explain to the assessor's office, hey, I am not producing any income. It's an owner occupied, but I'm not making any income. If it's income producing, I have no tenants because the property is not up to par and we don't have a certificate of occupancy just yet. It is under construction. What you want to do is show them dated photos of the damage in real time, right? Like right then and there. So you want it dated, you want those photos to show the damage, showing that the property is not in livable condition. Along with affidavits and other documentations they're going to require when you submit your appeal online. Income. Okay, so income. Income can be if you haven't done an income analysis on your property and submitted it to the assessor's office, it can be cumbersome. So an income analysis is great at the board of review. The assessor's office, but the board of review, they look for income analysis. And later in this slide, you're going to see how the breakdown of how to do an income analysis. So an income will consist of a few things. You can get your federal tax returns, the 8825 or the Schedule E, between this is what the Board of Review will ask for, okay? Requires actually for income producing properties. And when I say income producing properties, I'm saying if you have a tenant that has no relationship with you, or tenants that has no relationship with you is an income producing property. You're going to have to present your federal tax returns. Within your federal tax return, you have your 8825s and you have your Schedule E's. In addition to that, given that we're in 2024, you want to submit your 2024 year-to-date income and analysis expense. Now that can come from a spreadsheet, you can actually write it out, type it out, what your total income in as year to date and what your expenses are year to date. And what they will do is annualize it to see what that income would be by the end of December. So you want to submit that, or profit and loss statement. Some people submit their profit and loss statement. You want to gather your rent roll. So that is your tenants, the square footage that they are occupying, what type of lease, if it's a triple net lease, a modified lease, a gross lease, and what are their payments monthly, or what are their payments annually, and if they have CAM, if you have like the improvement expense, and we want to know what that is, either monthly or annually. Annually at the Board of Review, monthly at the assessor's office. And I can actually show you that for the assessor's office. Let's take a look right here. And then they look at this price per square foot. So you just sort of kind of focus on what they're asking you for. It's pretty cut and dry. All right, so let us go to the Board of Review. The Board of Review, for the business owner, everything remains the same, but the documentation change. So a lot of clients that I have, they get so frustrated, as they should, because it's like, okay, we filed at the assessor's office, we didn't get what we wanted, so we're going to go to the Board of Review. I need X, Y, and Z. And they're just like, I just sent that to you 8 weeks ago. Well, it was for the assessor's office, and now we're filing at the Board of Review. So here, for you, if you're filing on your own, here are all the documents you will need. You will not use all of these documents, but these are all the documents that the Board of Review really asks for. You're going to need a complaint form. Because you're filing on your own, you don't have to worry about the authorization form. Okay, the attorney authorization form. You will need this. This complaint form is going to ask for a lot of information. This particular, and it's a very similar form at the assessor's office as well. I did not show you that form, but it's very similar. And this form, you can pretty much copy what you had on the assessor's office onto this form, because this form is just giving the description of the property. That's pretty much it, as the form at the assessor's office will do as well. You want general affidavit. You want to explain what is going on with your property, right? What if it's vacant, if it's dilapidated, if it's demolished. Definitely want this general affidavit form to argue, what is going on, explain what is going on. And let's just say you're saying, this is just way too much for me. I cannot deal with this. You can go in, and if you hire an attorney, the attorney will submit the substitution fund. You wouldn't have to worry about that. But this is also very important. This is the vacancy occupancy affidavit. You want to complete this. This side here, you will put your commercial industrial property, if it's occupied, what square footage is occupied, what square footage is vacant, what is the total square footage. Okay, this one here is for condos and apartments, in the same difference. And then you will calculate what is what and answer any questions that is directed to you that you need to you're submitting photos, you can mark that. If you're not, explain why you're not submitting those photos, etc. Majority of the documents will need to be notarized. It's a headache, but you don't want them to throw your case out simply because a document wasn't notarized, and they will, and they will. All right, so this right here is the income analysis approach. Oh, okay, see, I knew I had so much to talk about in so little time. All right, so this is the income analysis approach. This is more of an easier look at how it is. So let's just say you don't have an appraisal, you don't have comparables because your building is new, and it's an income producing property, and you you have income for the last 2 years. So the appraisal doesn't work, sales analysis doesn't work in your area because you're the only new property in that area, and only thing you have is income. You want to do an income analysis approach. And here you will take your rent roll. Sometimes you will take, if you have a full year, let's say we're still, fighting 2024 and it's 2025, it's February of 2025. We're at the board of review, and we're in your township comes open for the 2024 tax year, and you got the 2024 tax income and FTRs, federal tax returns. You can file what they call a the actual, you can file the actual income, or you can file PGI, potential gross income. Potential gross income will come from the rent roll. So the rent roll will show pretty much everything that you should make at that time. In some cases, it will show vacant, and you may have vacant units, but you can use an estimated amount for those vacant units to come up with the total PGI you should receive in that year. So that will go in the first line. Usually, we take off for credit and vacancy loss off the top 10%. That's standard. Even the board of review said that's standard, especially if it's a commercial industrial property. That's standard. You get your EGI, that's the effective gross income. Once you multiply, take off 10% of out of that PGI. Expenses. Now, what you will have, remember we talked about the 3 years of income. You will take 3 years, not including the current year you're filing an appeal for. So you will take 2021, 2, and 3 expenses, and you'll just take the average of those expenses. Could be 25%, could be 45%. You will take the average of those expenses, and that is what you will take away from the EGI from those 3 years, and you will come up with your net operating income. Now, the market rate. We have to have another webinar if we want to go really deep into the income analysis approach, because the cap rate, we have cap plus load. Depending on what type of lease you have will depend on if you will load on the property or not. So let's just say you have an apartment building. Well, usually, the tenants aren't paying taxes. I mean, technically they are. It's sort of kind of included in the rent, but it is not a side item. It's not in the contract saying, you will pay 25% of the taxes. So technically, you pay all the taxes. So an apartment building is a growth lease, okay? And with a growth lease, you can load. And when you load, that helps you out significantly. But again, I got to break down because there's a whole calculation involved in the cap and the load. Here, it just shows the cap. This is saying, me just seeing a cap shows that this property is a triple net lease, meaning the tenant pays all of the taxes, the insurance, things of that nature. So it's just capped. And in some cases it's like that, in some cases it's not, but maybe we can touch on that soon. But here, this is the standard way of how to do an income analysis. And if you want to look at it even further, you can look at any appraisal that you received on your property. And in that appraisal, it should have an income analysis approach. And it should have this standard template showing how that income analysis approach looks. All right, determining your grounds to appeal. Incorrect valuation, that's probably 100% of the time. Uniformity issues. Yes, uniformity issues really works with residential properties, but also apartment buildings as well. Not so much as commercial industrial buildings, but sometimes I get a reduction off of that, but not very much. Recent market conditions. Yes, so if my property is in the southeast side, well, if they try to appraise my property, the assessor's office is saying my property is worth $500,000, $600,000. Absolutely not. I'm on the southeast side. Even though if you pick up that property and put it in, somewhere else, yes, up north or somewhere that it has higher value land, then absolutely. But where it is, even though we put in $500,000, just saying example, that doesn't necessarily mean it is worth $500,000. And property damages and obsolescence. Okay, so AT&T properties, they have so many buildings around Illinois, crazy. They use hardly any of them because of the equipment is dilapidated. The equipment that they have in those buildings they're obsolete. They just, technology has taken off, and that equipment is no use for it. But because they have an infringement issue, they got to keep these buildings and keep that equipment. It's hard for them to get rid of this equipment. So that is what you call, it's obsolete. So you have this building, you have this equipment, but there's nothing you can do with it. Cannot make any money. You're not making any money. You're not using anything. So you can argue that. And if the property is damaged. So we touched on that a little bit already. Organizing your appeal. What is our time? Okay. 4 more minutes, and then we're going to have questions in 10 minutes. All right. So title. So we already said you need your name, your address, your PIN number. Introduction. You want to explain your purpose of the appeal. Okay. Current assessment details. You want to go ahead and put that. This is my current assessment is 50,000 with a market value of 500,000. That's 10% LOA. That is wrong, So you want to pinpoint that. Comparable properties. If you're looking at comparable properties, I have this this home that is 1,200 square feet, and it's in property class 203. Well, I got 4 203s property class properties that is larger than my property, but have assessments less than my property. That's what you want to look for. Something that is larger, have lower building assessed values than yours. Recent sales or appraisal evidence. If you recently purchased a property in 3 years, you want to go ahead and show that you purchased it for 500,000. Assessor's office have you for 700,000, and it's a good purchase. Appraisal, same difference. Visuals. Photos. Repair, needs repair, is deteriorating. Photos, electric bills, gas bills, things of that nature, showing that, hey, this property is not in use right now. And then you sum it up, and then you ask for a certain value. This is our property here. So as you can see, I just threw some visuals in there to show, hey, this is how much this square footage is. This is our building. We actually buying those 7 lots as well. And this is what it's still under construction. and submit your appeal. You can submit online filings, which you can, this is the steps to the online filing, or you can go and submit. Let's just say you file at the assessor's office, you file at the board with your appraisal, and you still didn't get what you wanted. You still didn't get 25% of that appraised value or 10% of that appraised value. You can go to the Property Tax Appeal Board. That's the state level. It takes about 3 years to get a reduction, but they're up there. They gives about 95% reduction, and you get a refund check. So this is where you will start with the Property Tax Appeal Board. All right. And I just want to throw in something else here. Grants. So as you know, I'm a business owner, and we have been blessed to obtain grants and low interest loans for our property. And Kiva is a 0% interest loan for your property. It's a micro loans, as they call them. So I wanted to show you guys these organizations that you can get grants from once they open. Just keep your eyes out on those. And then loans, you know, a lot of these banks, Greenwood Archer, I mean, we got a 2.5% interest rate. I mean, it's really, really beneficial to know these organizations, and they're all hyperlinked. So you can definitely go and check it out. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Connie. What a wealth of information. I'm sure people have been taking copious notes. There are a couple of questions that were entered as you were speaking. The first one was related to, or came up when you were discussing the details on the gather key documentation deck,
Okay.
or slide rather. And
Yeah.
that question is, will a BPO, so be good?
Of what?
A B as in boy, P as in property, O as in opportunity, be good? Do you need that person to clarify what they mean by that?
Please. Yes, please.
Whoever asked this question, will a BPO be good? Please raise your hand so that you can give Connie some clarity. Oh, broker price opinion.
Ah, you're talking about a comparative market analysis. I'm also a broker. But same difference. Well, I have filed in previous years with a broker, a comparative market analysis, or a BPO, and I've found that it could work. The thing is, although a broker is a professional in real estate, it is a BPO and or well, let me just go with a comparative market analysis. A CMA, a comparative market analysis, is not certified. I'm unsure if a BPO is certified or not, and if it is done by an appraiser, but a comparative market analysis is not, and that's the downfall of that particular document. However, sales, MLS sales that you can gather are actual documents and are actually certified. Like these it's on a certified platform. So it works. So to say yes, it could certainly help, but just to let you know, it's not a certified document.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question is, does one have to use a lawyer, or can one use one of the property tax consultants?
Use both. So the border review, unfortunately, you cannot use a consultant. You have to use an attorney or yourself. At the assessor's office, you can use all three. You can use yourself, an attorney, or consultant.
Great, thank you. And Connie, are you okay with me sharing the slide deck? Because as I mentioned earlier, I will share the recording of the training, but I don't always share slide decks. Are you okay with
I am
people
so
receiving
okay with them. Yes,
Okay.
utilize whatever. A lot of this have hyperlinks. So please utilize that.
Okay. Are there any final questions before we I move to the final slide and someone asked, how can they hire you?
Oh no. Um, so yeah, I'm not in a market yet to do the appeals. It's a lot of work. And right now I have two full-time jobs. And but I do want to I will help give you a better understanding of what you need to submit. But at this time, I'm not taking on clients. I I don't believe I can benefit you, give you my all at this moment.
Okay, thank you. And so I would say a follow-up question to that is, with a consultant, what's too much to pay or a fair price?
Oh, good question. All right. So usually with a consultant, you can at one point in time, and it could have changed since the pandemic, it was 33% of the first year savings. Um, and that's what a consultant with attorneys, they some attorneys will do 10% for 3 years. So every year, if they get you a reduction in that first triennial year, let's just say your property is in the city and you will reassess this year, and your attorney or your consultant, uh, anyone can do this actually, get you a reduction in 2024, you will get charged 10% for 2024, and they file in 2025 and don't get you a reduction, you will still get charged 10% because they got you a reduction in the first year. So that second year, and also for that third year, they get you a reduction, you will get charged 10% of that total reduced um, dollar amount. So it's 30% over the 3-year span. Sometimes it's 12.5% for 3 years, or 30% for 1 year. So I think both, I mean, they sort of kind of match. The 33% is pretty good, but if you can also negotiate. I mean, you could say 20% for 1 year, 3 years, or you can certainly say, 25%, you can negotiate. But I think, I don't know, I suppose that's somewhat fair, especially depending on the property too. Sometimes these properties, I can work on a property all day because it entails that much work.
As a follow-up to that, the person that asked the question said, I guess the person they're working with has a flat fee, and
Ooh, yeah.
our training participant says they don't want to pay a whole lot, and so he was told $349.
Man, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
Uh-oh.
sorry.
Sounds like, is that a red flag?
I think it is, because if he's charging, that is a significant amount without absolute results, right? So an appeal, it's not just because I file an appeal does not mean I'm going to get a reduction, even if it comes on a silver platter. So usually, oh, thank you for going in detail with that. Usually, I I would, if I was doing it, I will charge a 50% an initial fee, 50%, not 50%, $50, because I'm filing it. I'm putting in this work, right? And I'm doing it all manual because I don't have a huge company and I don't have that database or whatever. So it's a $50 like initial fee. And then after that, 20% of the savings, whatever that may be. But if there's no savings, only thing I received was the $50 because I filed the appeal. So I think a $350 initial fee without any absolute is a red flag to me. It's high. That's pretty high. I don't know anyone that's doing that.
And that, and the person says exactly, too much, I thought.
Yes, don't do that. If they want to, I mean, it's almost like, listen, they want to get paid for their work. Yeah, $50. I think $50 is a good amount. Maybe even 100 since inflation, right? But $50 is my soft spot. It's a good amount. Submit and then go from there. Show them what you're worth. They're trying to buy a pair, they're I don't know, they're trying to go out for a steak dinner on something that is not absolute, not cool.
Thank you. It looks like, again, final opportunity for you to share questions you may have. I know, again, there was so much knowledge shared today, and we truly thank Connie for that. Connie, if you would advance to the last slide with our
Oh,
contact
yes.
information, that would be great. But this is your final opportunity. Either type your last question in the Q&A section or raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to prepare to end. Okay, I don't see additional questions. So if you want to contact us for appointments, if you are in need of business support, work with, we at the Illinois SBDC at Bill Bronzeville, work with clients on things such as their business plans and financial analysis. We connect you with professional service providers, just to name a few. And of course, you get to participate in great training like today's session. You can also reach out to Connie, today's presenter, who we are so appreciative of, at the Record Track. You can see how you can connect with her via email, visit the website, or even give them a call. And you will, just a reminder for those that didn't hear me announce it earlier, you will receive a recording of today's training, and it will come with a survey. Please complete the survey. We appreciate your insight, and even there's space for you to provide recommendations for future training. We like to provide sessions that are really helpful for business owners like you to thrive. And so your recommendations and comments on today's session are truly welcome. And with that, I thank you. Many thanks again to you, Connie, for your time and expertise. And I think all the knowledge was well received. And I have a feeling that they'll even delve even deeper when watching the recording, as well as taking a thorough look at the slide deck.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is my first webinar. I'm super excited. Thank you.
Fantastic. Continue to have a great day, everyone. And thanks again.